Because soon and very soon we're coming to the end of the church age.
Israel attacked Iran's capital in strikes targeting the country's nuclear program.
Several top Iranian military leaders killed, raising the potential for an all-out war between these two countries. Iran responded by sending around 100 drones toward Israel. They were intercepted. It's still not clear how many got through. Iran threatening to hold the United States responsible as well.
The US president says Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame and a waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran.
Just moments ago, the Secretary of Defence, Pete Hegseth, also saying that military capabilities are being moved in to the Middle East region to put a new defence posture in place. But certainly the concern here is that this will escalate into a wider war.
The U.S. is holding back that gigantic 30,000-pound bunker-busting bomb and the aircraft that could carry that. They're not so far giving that to the Israelis. That would be what Israel would need in order to reach the deepest nuclear facilities in Iran.
This was the night sky here in the city of Tel Aviv, a scene repeated with Iran's multiple waves of attacks from dusk all the way until dawn.
The next theologically world-changing event is upon us.
Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets.
I'm very amazed by the collection of all these prophecies that the Lord sent me to give across the entire earth. That these two missiles that the Lord showed me in that tremendous vision, that they are actually nuclear missiles. I think because Israel cannot take chance with Iran.
I don't see that Israel had any choice here tonight but to go at those nuclear facilities.
We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world.
Israel actually fires two nuclear missiles that totally devastate the Iranian nuclear program. Extensive damage.
Israel has hit several nuclear sites, but according to the United Nations nuclear watchdog, has not damaged to the sites. You mentioned the bunker busters. One of those sites, Fordo, is thought, the conventional wisdom is that it would require American bunker buster bombs, which only the U.S. has, to get at that site.
The Israel-Iran nuclear war that's about to take place now, I've called it the prophetic timeline of God. And I positioned a place called today. And I drew a horizontal line. And the first part on the left, I called it today, meaning where we are today. And then I drew a vertical line to cut the horizontal line. And then inside the next segment, I said the tribulation. The Israel-Iran war that is going to take place will be so severe that there will be a hit back where Iran hits back, and it's going to be a flare up, and it will be led by Russia. Even the nuclear plants in Iran, they have been built by Russia.
This is a Western conspiracy to destroy Russia's main ally in this region.
Russia and Iran have been strategic partners and allies. As we remember, in January this year, the two presidents signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement. The trade turnover is growing, including weapons sales, and Russia is building Bushehr nuclear power plant in Iran. And also heard earlier from a Russian Foreign Ministry. In its statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry expressed extreme concern about the dangerous escalation of tensions in the Middle East and has strongly condemned the violent action of Israel.
Due to the hostilities, there might be a spillover that will affect Russian position in the Caspian Sea, and that will affect, of course, the situation in the Gulf. And some people say that in the short run, Russia will win because oil prices will increase. But in the long term, if Iran falls, if it becomes a failed state, or if it survives but has to undergo regime change, that it will be a problem for Russia, because Iran is an important part of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Iran is an important player in the BRICS. And Iran is one of the countries that promote the idea of a multipolar world. So for Russia, it's a very serious problem.
Donald Trump has approved of attack plans by U.S. forces alongside Israel on Iran, but has not decided to implement the plans. In other words, Trump, having been played by the Israelis, now gets to play the big guy and keep not just Iran, but the rest of the world in suspense as to whether U.S. forces, who are needed by the Israelis to hit Iran's fortified underground nuclear facility at Fordow, whether U.S. forces will in fact not only support the Israelis in terms of approving of the Israeli attacks, but actually join in as well.
Иран выполнял все взятые на себя обязательства по известному соглашению, о котором вы сейчас упомянули. Все. К Ирану невозможно предъявить никаких претензий. Затем Соединенные Штаты в одностороннем порядке решили выйти из этого соглашения, а европейцы предложили требовать от Ирана, чтобы он выполнял взятые на себя обязательства. Ну это, вы уж меня простите, но это какой-то бред. Не Иран же вышел из этого соглашения. США вышли. Бывший президент Трамп взял и принял решение выйти из соглашения. А европейцы говорят, да, это не очень хорошо, что американцы вышли, но вы, иранцы, все соблюдаете. С какого хрена-то иранцы, извините, так по-русски звучит грубовато немножко.
Especially as we know Russia now warning the U.S. against providing any direct military aid to Israel.
This completely unprovoked attack, no matter what Israel says to the contrary, is a gross violation of the UN Charter and international law. One is left with the impression that Israel's leadership is convinced that they have a completely free hand in the region.
Now Iran has unleashed a new missile, a hypersonic missile. This comes at a time when Israeli Iron Dome has less than 2 weeks of ammo left.
A nuclear bomb, but the bomb will be small, not large, and God will just stop it in the sky, and it won't fall.
You mean they will fire a nuclear bomb at us and God will freeze it in the sky?
He will freeze it in the sky, and after a few weeks it will fall, but it will only fall on 2 cities, Tel Aviv and Haifa.
The nuclear bomb will only fall on those 2 cities?
Yes, those 2 cities.
Haifa was already targeted overnight, Saturday into Sunday. It's a very strategically important Israeli port. Oil is a refinery.
We're seeing shots of Tel Aviv, live pictures now on our screens of Tel Aviv where missiles are being launched.
There's been projectiles in the skies of Tel Aviv and Jerusalem.
This is the same prophecy I've given since the year 2005 of the tremendous war, the nuclear war that is coming to Iran, that I said I see aircrafts and missiles strike a nuclear facility at the foot of a mountain in the desert.
Overnight, Israeli airstrikes hit 2 Iranian centrifuge facilities. One of Israel's stated goals for its current offensive is destroying Iran's ability to build a nuclear bomb. So far, attacks have targeted Iran's above-ground facilities, but one of the sites Israel views as critical to destroy is hundreds of feet underground.
Just consider that in the last few months we've been in the uncertain territory of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We've been in the uncertain territory of Israel and Pakistan having a confrontation. We're now in the uncertain territory that there is an ongoing war in Gaza, and now there is an ongoing war by 2 states armed with nuclear weapons, Israel and the United States, against Iran. What do the Gulf states do? What does Europe do? Indeed, what does India do? This is uncharted and dangerous territory, possibly the most danger the world has been in since the end of World War II.
I see 2 nuclear missiles strike a nuclear facility. And that facility is at the foot of a mountain in the desert. And it is in Iran. And the fire that comes from there is the most historic fire that the earth has ever lived to see.
This was uttered years ago, 20 years ago, by an ascetic in Crete, Theodore, an ascetic in Crete. He says, one day you'll be sipping coffee, you will hear the news that the Israelis have hit the nuclear program of Persia. That will be when the major worldwide events will start. At the same time, another sign, either shortly before or after, Erdogan, the head of Turkey, will fall.
But when this war takes place, it will be so severe to cause Israel to sign a peace treaty for 7 years. And that means when this war takes place, it's at the time when the rapture is here. And that is the tribulation.
And he had opened a Jewish calendar, a Hebrew calendar, on his device. And he went 3.5 years earlier, and he literally turned pale. Because 3.5 years earlier, before the impact of Apophis, to the day is the middle of the Feast of Tabernacles. Because the seventh day of the Feast of Tabernacles is when the ancient Hebrews, get this, sacrificed 7 bulls in commemoration of God delivering them from all of the gods of the nations, but in particular, delivering them from the gods of Egypt, and in particular, delivering them from Apophis, the ancient Egyptian god of chaos. Literally, that day in antiquity is 3.5 years to the day from when Apophis is going to strike the earth, is when the Hebrews will be celebrating how God in antiquity delivered them from Apophis. So is God going to deliver his own people?
The day of thy watchman and thy visitation cometh. Now shall be their perplexity.
What role in the Middle East again does Israel play in this?
Israel was created as the instrument to bring about the Battle of Armageddon and the fulfillment of prophecy, a war that will be so terrible, where nuclear weapons will be used, so that the American citizens and the other people in the world will get down on their knees and beg for no more war. And what is the answer to that? They're going to be told the only way we can guarantee no more war is if we destroy the sovereignty of nations and we come together as one humanity in a one world government.
Right.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
But how close do you personally think that they were to getting one? Because Tulsi Gabbard testified in March that the intelligence community said Iran wasn't building a nuclear weapon.
I don't care what she said. I think they were very close to having it.
If Apophis were to ever strike the Earth, we have 3 possible dates to consider. According to NASA, Apophis is scheduled to fly by the Earth in April of 2029, March of 2036, and April of 2068, with the closest approach occurring in 2029.
Turn from your sin, for all this society is about to come under the justice of God.